tell these guys what it is?
This is GPS section 4138 in Florida. It is US 92 eastbound. We've got all of our signs up, but we are missing our delineators, both beginning and ending delineators. This is a JCP section with skewed joints. This is going to be one of our workshop sections as well, at least the first 300 feet. We've got pretty good joint sealant in all the joints. We do have this surface patched material, which probably was trying to be a crack sealant that came out. You can see the crack is spalled in certain areas. We've also got rigid patches. Continuing on here, again, we've got another patched transverse crack. There's another transverse crack. There did appear to be some additional maintenance that occurred out here, some additional patching, and some additional cracks that have occurred, so the section is deteriorating. You can see the old patch material, which is the gray, and then you can see the darker new patch material down the section. So the distresses have changed. A lot have gone to low severity, but with a larger area of patching. Some of the new patching totally obscured the cracks or joints that were there, which also made us change a few things from previous, so that'll be interesting to see how that falls out in the QC. That's the old patch. A lot of these are corner breaks with patch material, because you can see the corner break, the slab underneath there. But like I said, on some of these new patches coming up here, you can't see the difference. We also saw a supposable corner break that was measured by whoever did it previously by 0.4 meters. 0.4 meters. We measured it. It was like 7 inches. We put it back to a spall. Here we have new patch material. This is at about 2+20. We've got a rigid patch, goes right into a flexible patch. You know, we can see part of a crack at the beginning, but then it ends, and there's nothing. It's just patch material. So we counted it as 2 separate patches, a flexible patch and a rigid patch, low severity each. Don't know if it's a patch on a patch, but that's what we got. Here, almost covered up the entire joint, but we still know one's there. We put it at low severity joint sealant, but as you can see, this is pretty much covered up all of the cracks that were there before. You can see the crack there, but then it just disappears into the patch material. So we just call that one flexible, low severity patch, where it had a lot of other distress previously before they put that material down and covered everything up. Here we can see the crack, pretty much 90% of it. So we went ahead and counted that as a transverse crack going to the joint, which is covered up again. So we called this one flexible patch. It's not really separated by the joint because I don't see the joint, but we did include the longitudinal crack there. And that is that section. That was at 2+75. We did have areas of map cracking that popped up. Just in case, for the record, we can take this back to the office, but to me, I call that map cracking. Some people might think that's pretty light, but it's there. I saw it. It's recorded. Another new patch. This one, again, looks like one patch. The joint is covered up, pretty much most of the area that's covered by the patch. That's about it. Here's one where we had, you can see the huge rigid patch that goes for about 50 feet, about 45 feet. And you got flexible patches intermittent with this one leading into it. And here you can't really see the crack at all along there, just a few areas. So we just counted this a flexible patch. We've got the joint, we consider that low severity, completely covered up. We had a low severity rigid patch And where the previous survey has this all as one rigid severity patch with some of this other stuff in between, I counted them separate. Right here, I've got a crack going across that I counted as a 4L. And then I've got this flexible patch material, which is all the way up to the joint. And then I've got the rigid patch going from that joint, which again, here I don't see anything. Just flexible material in between, so I counted this as a flexible patch separate, even though you can see parts of a crack there. Then we've got that moderate to high severity transverse crack because of the faulting in this rigid patch, so it just did the severity of the patch, the rigid patch here. Another rigid patch in between the joint, now we're at 400. Here we've got the same thing, one contiguous flexible patch throughout this area, right along the joint, and then it ends, and then you can kind of see the crack there. We may have counted that as a longitudinal crack, crack coming off of that to the joint. Old patch, corner break, coming up at 450. That was the corner break that was counted in the previous survey. This is at about 4 plus 50. They counted that as 0.4 by 0.4 meters. But as you can see, that's just over 6 inches by 6 inches. So we counted that as a spall, not a corner break. Previous surveys probably need to be corrected. Rigid patch, a rigid patch, low severity, 475. Here we're coming up to another new patch, kind of covered up this area, and we're at station 50. And that concludes section 4138 of Florida GPS section in Florida, US 92 eastbound.